Well, hi everyone, and welcome to Right Here Now. We are in Wynwood at the Nucleus studio in the art of hip hop, and I do have a special guest today. Someone that I met about 12 years ago when she was kind of hustling at the time. We have Miss Lushy on the podcast. Lushy, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing excellent. If you want to get the mic a little closer to you. So, 12 years ago, and here we are today recording a podcast. You have done so much in this art community. You have a bachelor degree in art?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in graphic design.
All right.
Everything else outside of the graphic design stuff is self-taught, actually. So when it comes to the mural stuff, that's just like me messing around when I was younger and teaching myself how to spray paint. So that I didn't go to school for, but
that you didn't go to school for? Well, the street is the best school.
That is the best school.
I'm sure you had plenty of great teacher
Definitely.
on the street. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking to one of your best friend.
Yes.
We had Miss Mars on the podcast a couple of months ago.
My sister.
When I met you, you were side by side and doing that was really fun at the time.
Definitely.
It's still fun.
And
it's still fun.
Some things haven't changed. We're still we're still very close.
Very close.
Yeah.
You do some trends sometime? Because I had Mars on the podcast, and to me this is something I really wanted to discuss, all these freight trends that she's doing. And
Yes.
yeah, you do that too?
I do that too, yes, and I do it mainly with her, which is always a lot of fun. I feel like that's our time, our own girl time, and we have a lot of fun together. We feed off each other's creativity, and I love her very much. I look up to her very much.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun.
So,
To maybe introduce yourself to the listeners who are maybe not familiar with the style, what is your style in general as when it comes to street art?
I guess a lot of my work is influenced by the music that I listen to. So if I'm not painting owls, which in the past I was known for painting a lot of owls, I have an obsession with owls. But I'm really influenced by the hip hop culture. So a lot of my stuff is hip hop oriented. A lot of the portraits that I do are musicians that I've listened to growing up, or that somehow inspired me. So I guess a little bit of urban, street art.
All right. Well, we are
style
the right place today.
Yeah.
The art of hip hop here in
Yes.
Wynwood. They have such an amazing exhibit right now. So
Definitely.
music is for a lot of artists a huge source of inspiration. And through that, all these portraits that you've been doing, from local Miami legend and to international artists.
Yeah, a lot of my work has been inspired by the music that I listen to. Two of my most, popular murals currently that I've had in Miami are in Little Havana. Celia Cruz was the first one that I did, which was a great experience, and that's obviously someone that I grew up listening to. And then my second one was the Willie Chirino tribute mural to him to celebrate his 50th anniversary in his career. So yeah, music is definitely a huge influence in my work.
Yeah, for a lot of people. So outside of Miami, Wynwood, have you had a chance to travel a little bit, to paint, to bring your art?
I have.
Maybe
I have gone to New York. I've gone to New Jersey. Paint Louis in St. Louis, actually.
St. Louis.
I got to participate in that last year. I painted with Mars, and it was a beautiful experience because it was a lot of women that came together thanks to Few and Far, the female crew that invited us to go out there.
Yeah, they're really awesome. Doing a great
Amazing,
job,
yeah.
yes.
And I got to travel to go do that, and that was such a great experience, just to be surrounded by so many artists, so much talent that goes there. So that was a great experience. I've been to Bolivia. I've painted over there. I've painted in Colombia, Texas.
Interesting.
So I've had a little bit of, some travels in my
A little bit of a
under my
traveling.
belt. Yeah.
Yes. So when you do all this travel, and even whenever you paint here, being a female artist in this mostly male-dominated world, how do you feel about it? How's your, I guess, good experience somehow?
Yeah, I mean, I feel maybe when I was younger, when I first started, I was possibly more intimidated that it was a male, dominant culture. But I
Yeah.
feel like nowadays there's definitely more females that are, painting. There were, even before I started, that I was influenced by. I think one of the first things that I used to look up to was this website back in the day called artcrimes.com. I'm not even sure if it's still up, but a lot of the first female, a lot of the first female artists that I found were in that website. And so seeing women back then, that definitely, inspired me to continue and not let the fact that more males were in this world, it never stopped me. I never really cared for that.
It should not.
It doesn't make a difference. I think talent speaks for itself, and what you do, I think whether you're a female or not, the work speaks for itself.
Yeah, no, we have some very, very talented ladies down here. Mm-hmm. With you, Mars, Nico, to mention just a very, very, very few. Delves.
So many.
We have Reds, who's climbing down those buildings. We have some badass girls.
Yeah, I think women in general in this scene are very, I don't know, I guess it makes me happy to be part of it, because I feel like we're very unique, and I don't think we let our gender affect us in any way.
Absolutely
and I've never
not.
really had any bad experiences. I think I've always had support from the male side. Maybe at first I wasn't as respected, but I think I've paved my own way.
You have, for sure.
So I think I'm okay now.
Yes, no, you way more than okay. You way more than okay. Miss Lushy, she is a local legend.
Aw, thank you.
So, talking about art, did you have any kind of you mentioned the owls at some point? This was really something you were doing. Even 2 years ago, when we invited you to Eora to do some chalk art, you did a beautiful owl.
Yes.
This was something fun to do some.
It was a lot of fun. That was actually my first time doing any type of chalk art, so that was a fun experience too.
That was a great experience.
Yeah.
So, you do get to work in the as an artist. You have a job that you can include your work on the street and whatever you do. You are kind of a designer or something?
Yeah, so I guess I do a little bit of everything. I'm a sign artist during the day. I work for Trader Joe's. That's my little main job, which has been a blessing because I draw all day, so I can't even complain.
Oh, okay. All right.
So there's that, but I do freelance graphic design work. I also, I do my murals, I do commission pieces, and then as of recently, teaching. Teaching has been a really beautiful thing that I've been doing, and I feel like that was kind of the last, missing link to my career, and it's something that has me super inspired right now, working with kids.
Yes, we actually had one of your students in the podcast last year. We had Tab Tunes.
Yes, he is my little prodigy.
Yeah, whenever you are, I've seen you doing these classes at the Museum of Graffiti. And once again, shout out to the Museum of Graffiti. I mean, I think I mentioned them in every single podcast.
Yes.
Doing these classes, that must be very interesting and rewarding for you to see all these youngsters and being exposed to that. So that interview we had with Tab Tunes, and of course I had his dad on a podcast. Aww. Because as a father, as a parents, they are absolutely awesome.
Yes.
This is just so good to push someone into the art.
It really is, and I've talked to his parents. And on that note, I would like to give a shout out to Path. Because of them, I've been able to work with the Museum of Graffiti. They're the ones, what Path stands for is preserving, archiving, and teaching hip hop. So to me, it's a huge blessing to be part of this organization and be one of their instructors. And to be able to go on Sundays when it's, obviously my time to teach. And it's been a huge blessing just because I wish maybe when I was younger to have a class, to be exposed to a class like this.
Oh, I can imagine.
And so now I feel like my inner child is like, yay, I'm doing this. artist, so I grew up to be something that I wish I had, and that to me is special to see the kids be so inspired. It's an hour class, but it's nice to see them engaged and want to learn and know about the culture. So I'm happy to be that person to be that for them.
Yeah, I'm sure it must be so rewarding.
It really is.
And then just to have them to express themselves one way or another. It could be through sports, but then in our community and what you do is through art. And we know the art brings so much to the education and opens so many doors to so many different things.
It's very special. I feel like it's obviously a very great positive outlet for children, and I think the fact that they are exposed to the Museum of Graffiti in itself is really special. Like, I didn't have that growing up, so to have access to this beautiful museum, it's great. It's great that kids get to come, especially now at the Art of Hip Hop, because now we're teaching here, so there's a lot that they get to look at and and learn.
All right, yes, there's so much to learn, so much to discover. The art, the music, I mean, everything happening on the street, everything happening in the galleries. There's quite few galleries here in Wynwood and in Miami, even in Fort Lauderdale, where the people can go and visit. For some reason, people always hesitate to push the gallery door and get into it. It seems to be something still people have hard time or difficult time. Do you do some gallery work sometimes?
It's been a while. I haven't. In the past, I have shown my work in galleries, but I really haven't. It's been a long time. I feel like I've just been focusing on teaching. Like, I've been giving private art lessons. I kind of slowed down on the mural stuff for a bit due to like my hand. I had tendonitis in my fingers and stuff. So I kind of had to slow down a bit. It was kind of forced on me. But I've been painting again, so I would love to be back out there and, paint my murals again and, do that. But you feel the cold now. Yeah, and then I would like to develop my own body of work to eventually have a solo show. So that's something that I'm, brainstorming on. So hopefully, yes, I will be in a gallery very soon.
All right. Well, we are certainly looking forward to something new, to some fresh work from you.
Thank you.
So Miami is such a big platform, and luckily now it's been on the street art map. So you mentioned the Little Havana, which is a big neighborhood where there's a lot of happening over there. So you've been painting a lot over there, you mentioned.
Yeah, that was, I would say that's where I left some of my most, iconic murals. And I'm really thankful because it's become it's always been a popular street, but I feel like now it's definitely like a tourist attraction place. And there's so many artists now that have murals there. I know they have like a little area now that's dedicated to murals, which is really inspiring. And I'm glad to see so much art in the neighborhoods, especially a place like that, representing the Hispanic community. So I'm grateful that I have two pieces that are still standing there, and I hope they're there for a good while. But yeah, it's a very popular street, and I'm happy that I have my mark there.
They have a great chance to stay over there, a greater chance than here in Wynwood. Here in Wynwood, unfortunately, the walls are getting buffed and covered and tagged.
And buildings are leaving.
And then the buildings happening. There's less and less and less walls to paint.
Yes, there's a lot of changes.
There's a lot of changes. Well, these are part of the growing pains, I guess.
It is. Yeah.
It is. But it's still a lot of fun. And I'm glad that I get to record this podcast here in Wynwood, because Wynwood has a huge impact on us, had and still have, because there's plenty of more to come, yes.
I agree.
So now that's what they say, Wynwood goes vertical now instead of horizontal, so we get some buildings and some major artwork. Yes, you're going to be looking up.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, there's so much happening down on the sidewalk. I love to see all these tags that are here on the sidewalk.
It's never a dull moment out here.
No, it's never a dull moment. And then, to me, I love to discover this. So there's walls also. Yes. So do you actually have any walls still standing here in Wynwood?
Currently in Wynwood, no, I don't. And I'm looking forward to changing that. So hopefully soon I'll have something up and you'll see me around in Wynwood again.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't want to tell us everything about it. You don't want to tell us everything.
I won't say what I'm painting or where, but it's in the works.
In the works. So we got to follow you on the Instagram and on the social media to find out where your next target will be.
Yes.
But Wynwood will be on your list.
It's definitely on my list. It is. And I've been talking about it with Mars as well, so I'm excited for that.
Oh, good. A little collaboration work here.
I think it's time.
Do you remember that wall that you, Mars, and all the girls painted for the magazine? For the token of the wall 10 years ago, over 10 years ago.
I still have the magazine. I had it up in my room.
Yeah, this was such a fun project. So this was the February issues when I had all the ladies on the cover, 10 of you.
Yes.
This was such a fun project. I mean, this magazine was a big part of my life, 2 years when I got to cover the art scene. I got to finally meet the people behind the artwork that you could find on the street and get one-on-one. So this is where I met you, when I met you and Mars at the time, that you were just everywhere. There were so many little things, so many little pop-up shows happening, and you were always there.
Yeah, there was a lot going on.
You were always there.
Yes, I definitely was. And I'm grateful that I got to meet you back then, and here we are today.
Here we are today, yes. So that was the vision of the podcast, to do like a wear out day now with a lot of artists that I've known for years and then who grew up to became just full-time artists, street artists, gallery artists, or just a designer like you do. Some are web designers, there's all kinds of, there's so many different fields that you can do in the art world. And this is so great to see you blossoming.
Thank you.
Blossoming
Thank you so
like
much.
that.
I appreciate that.
This is definitely a beautiful art community. And you are giving to the art community, teaching the children now, the next generation.
Yes.
Like we talk about tap tunes. That kid has a lot of potential.
Oh, he totally does. Shout out to Tap Tunes. I have my own personal collection of his work. I've collected all his little doodles. So I know one day it's gonna be worth. Very proud of him. Yeah, he's a perfect example of perseverance and just someone being so dedicated at a young age.
Extremely dedicated. But this is something also as a parents we have to do. We have to see wherever our children are into. It could be sports, it could be music, it could be, find them a passion, find them something that they would be blossoming, they would be engaged, and really, so in his case, street art is going to be something fun.
I think it's up his alley. And on that note, I guess I'm thankful for my parents who supported my passion. They definitely nurtured that side of me. And I'm thankful for that, because a lot of, families don't support necessarily the arts. Like, you're not going to be anything in life. But I feel like there's a lot of amazing examples nowadays how artists can be very successful with their craft. And also, it means a lot to have the support from family and friends. So.
It is crucial. It is absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
And like I was talking earlier to a young lady, there's so many aspects in this art community that we need to talk about it in the podcast. I really want to keep this mic open to everybody in the art community, from the artists themselves to the photographers to the tour guides. In this community, there's just so many aspects, so many things to discuss, which is beautiful. Really, it engages the people. And Wynwood is such an alive neighborhood that luckily we can still, if you find a parking spot, walk around the street, and it's much safer now than it was 10 or 12 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yes, I got to experience when it wasn't so.
It was a little sketchy 15 years ago, 12 years ago.
It was.
But, well, this is the Wynwood that we grew up loving.
Yeah.
And this is the Wynwood we have now, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's
Wynwood
2.0.
Yeah, I think it's nice to at least, witness the evolution of Wynwood, whether I do miss things. I miss the art walks. I miss, stuff like that. But there's plenty to do out here. So
there's plenty to do.
It's still a happening place.
It's still a very happening place. Very, very happening place. especially when it comes to Art Basel in December.
Oh yeah, it gets
Quite
super
often we
crazy.
mention that on the
Yes.
podcast. I mean, that first 2 weeks before Art Basel, late November, early December, Wynwood, the neighborhood, and actually the whole Miami comes to life. And boom,
it
there's
does.
so much happening.
There's so much going on. It's always an exciting time. And it feels like a really big family reunion, you know, seeing all the different artists come from all over to be here in Miami. So
Yeah, you mentioned few and far. They've been
Yeah.
coming for years, painting and
Yeah.
painting. And this is a great, great women's crew. So you say you had a chance to paint with them also.
yeah, I had a chance to paint with them, and it was a great experience to be out there with them, especially during the Paint Louis festival. And also, I got to meet two of my, idols or women that I look up to during that event. Lady Pink was there, and
Oh,
also
Lady Pink,
Queen
yes.
Andrea. So I
Oh,
was really
yeah, they
special
both,
to meet them,
New York legends.
and see them, do their thing. And I was like right there with Mars, so it was like really special to witness, people that you grew up looking up to, and then being surrounded by so many women. I believe it was like 50 women, all of us painting at the same time. So that experience, was, I guess, like once in a lifetime, to have that many women together painting. It was very special. So I'm grateful for Few and Far for that opportunity, and shout out to Mimi.
Yes. Yes, shout out to Mimi. I'm waiting for her to come down to Miami because she's been coming for years and years.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to have her on the podcast. Overall, the street art community, it's pretty tight. Here in Miami, we have so many graph people, writers, street artists, although they don't always mix very, very well.
Yeah, that's like two separate worlds. But,
It's kind of two separate worlds.
But I feel like, maybe there's like a happy medium in between there.
There's always a happy medium. There's always some people who are open to this. Always. Everything that we discuss from your work experience, some seeing you growing, and then now teaching the next generation. This is something beautiful. So,
Thank you so much for having me. I really
oh,
appreciate
you're sure welcome.
being
You're
on
sure
here.
welcome. All right. So, folks, this is it today for the podcast. Once again, we had a great interview with one of our ladies, a local legend in South Florida and in Miami. So we'll see you next week for another episode of Write Your Narrative. Bye-bye now. Thanks again.
Bye.